Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe what I should do is sing. See, if you're having a big fundraiser, invite me to sing, because people will pay to make me stop. No, but thank you all for the wonderful work that you're doing, for so many of you getting involved. It's so important. And I have to make a disclaimer, because everybody makes disclaimers these days. They say, I sit on this board or I'm part of this organization, therefore you have to take everything with a grain of salt. My disclaimer is, I'm not politically correct. That doesn't mean that I'm mean or that I say mean things about people. It just means that I don't tie myself into a pretzel trying to make sure that I don't offend everybody, because some people are offended by everything.
That's right.
And it's really one of the problems with our country right now. It started out with political correctness. It's morphed into wokeness.
Yep.
And it is actually restricting so many things that have to do with liberty in our country. And I think we have to be very strong in the face of it and fight it, because America is a very special place. Have you noticed that we're the only country that has a dream?
Yep.
Everybody knows about the American dream.
Yep.
There's no French dream.
Right. There's no French dream.
There's no Canadian dream. They thought there was until recently. But we're the only ones who have a dream. And, Candy and I have had a chance to travel all over the world. We've been to 68 countries. We've lived overseas. And I can tell you, there is no place like this one.
That's right.
Where you can achieve that dream. But, for me, my American dream was to become a doctor. Even as a little kid, I just love medicine. Anything on television, Dr. Casey, whatever, anything on the radio, I even like going to the doctor's office. I would gladly take a shot just so I could smell the alcohol swabs. But anything that had to do with medicine was something that I loved. The only problem was my grades were not consistent with somebody who wanted to be a doctor. I was a terrible student, probably the worst student you've ever seen. And all the kids used to tease me and call me horrible names and really made me feel bad, but I tried to act like it didn't bother me. But I had a way of exacting revenge.
Uh-oh.
I was very good at one thing, and that was getting other people kicked out of class. I would study my classmates, figure out what made them really, really angry. And then I would just irritate them until they were about to explode. And I would never push the last button to make them explode until we're in class and the teacher was nearby. And they would explode and the teacher would kick them out and I would say, yeah! Because I wouldn't be the only one who didn't learn anything that day. But there was this one girl in class. Now you all know this girl. Some of you were probably her. Miss Goody Two Shoes. Everything perfect, pristine, on time, made everybody else look like a total jerk. I said, wouldn't it be great to get her kicked out of class?
Oh no.
There was only one problem. She was cool, calm, collected. You could not get under her skin. But I was persistent. I kept trying. I finally figured out what made her mad. She was boiling. The steam was coming out of her ear. She was about to explode. But I didn't push the last button. I waited till we were in class. Lo and behold, she sat right down in the desk in front of me.
Uh-oh.
I said, the Lord is good. And as the teacher approached, I pushed the last button to make her explode. But she didn't explode. She just quietly turned around and said, "You and me on the playground at recess." So that didn't work out all that well. I did stop teasing people after that. But you know, I was just this horrible student. My brother was this horrible student, and my mother was so concerned because you know, she came from a huge rural family in Tennessee, got married at age 13, trying to escape desperate poverty. They moved to Detroit. Some years later, she discovered her husband, my father, was a bigamist. Obviously, that resulted in a divorce. And there she was trying to raise us on her own with very little in the way of education. But what she did have was tremendous faith in God. And she always thought that somehow God would get us through any situation.
That's right.
So she prayed and she asked God to give her the wisdom to know what to do to get her young sons to achieve. And he gave her the answer, at least in her opinion. My brother and I didn't think it was wise at all. But she was working as a domestic, and she started observing the people in the homes that she cleaned. Because they were very nice homes, obviously very successful people. And she concluded that they didn't watch a lot of TV and they read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
So she imposed that on us, and we were not happy at all. I mean, in today's world, we would have called social services. They would have taken her away in handcuffs. But in those days, you had to do what your parents told you. And I really did not want to read those books. I wanted to watch TV. But after a while, I actually began to enjoy reading the books because we were desperately poor. Never had money for anything. But between the covers of those books, I could go anywhere, I could be anybody, I could do anything. That's right. And I began to read about fascinating people, explorers and entrepreneurs and scientists and surgeons, and I began to understand a very important thing. And that is that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you in life
Is you.
is you. It's not somebody else.
That's right.
No one else can control you unless you allow them to control you. And, you know, I became the bookworm. I was reading all the time. Within the space of a year and a half, I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class.
Wow.
Much to the consternation of a lot of those students who used to laugh and call me dummy. Now they were coming to me, Benny, how do you work this problem? I would say, sit at my feet, youngster, while I instruct you. I was perhaps a little obnoxious, but it sure felt good to say that to those turkeys. But you know, you think about human
He's too much.
potential and how much of it is wasted because people don't get the right direction and instruction. You don't have to have a PhD to give it. My mother had less than a third grade education. In fact, a lot of the people with the PhDs are the ones you don't want to listen to.
That's correct.
Because you think about what's happening to our children, and I'm so glad that so many of you are running for school board. That's going to make a huge difference. But, you know, those who want to fundamentally change our nation into something else, recognize that the way you do that is you indoctrinate the children.
Mm-hmm.
And people have known that for a long time. Proverbs 22:6, train up a child the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. But even our enemies, Marxists like Vladimir Lenin, said, give me your children to teach for 4 years, and the seed that I sow will never be uprooted.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they are working so hard to indoctrinate our children right now with all this foolishness. You look at this critical race theory, the 1619 Project, all this stuff, trying to get our children to no longer love the nation that they live in. And that also, if we destroy our history and distort our history, what impact does that have on people? Your history gives you your identity.
Exactly.
Your identity is the basis for your beliefs. So if you destroy anything along that chain, you become a leaf blowing in the wind, easily swayed. That's why when ISIS and Al-Qaeda conquer an area, what's the first thing they do? They get rid of the history of the people, and the libraries and the museums, universities. They get rid of all that so that they can have a clean slate and easily influence people. We're allowing that to happen in our own country, and we must fight that vigorously with everything we have.
Yes, we do.
You think about the human brain. What an amazing organ system God gave us, the human brain. Billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections. Your brain remembers everything you have ever seen, everything you've ever heard. That's why it's important not to put the wrong stuff in there, because it will be in there influencing you for the rest of your life. Your brain can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. This is an incredible thing. But if you take that human brain, you put it next to an animal brain, let's say a dog. And nothing against dogs, by the way, if anybody, some people get offended about everything. I remember I was telling that story one time, and the guy said, "You can't talk about dogs like that." That was amazing. But you put them side by side. The surface topography is very similar. Frontal lobes, parietal lobes, temporal lobes, occipital lobes, brain stem, cerebellum, midbrain. But the dog's midbrain is much more developed than the human midbrain. Animals have these very well-developed midbrains. What do midbrains allow you to do? React. That's why animals react so quickly to things, cat-like reflexes. But the human brain has a very big, well-developed frontal lobe system. What do your frontal lobes do? They allow you to engage in rational thought processing. We have the ability to extract information from the past, integrate it with information in the present, project it into the future, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We can plan, we can strategize, we can analyze. And that's why Alvida's uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King, said he looked forward to the time when we would judge people not on the basis of the color of their skin like you would with the midbrain, but content of their character as you would analyze with those frontal lobes. That's what we have to start emphasizing. Why would we be teaching our kids to act like animals? Instead of to act like people made in the image of God.
Come on.
And, this is a message that we have got to get out there. And we've got to be aggressive about it. American Cornerstone was something that I developed along with some outstanding members from HUD after the 2020 election, because I was going to retire after the 2020 election. I had failed retirement the first time. I said, I'm going to get it right this time. And go play golf and pool and travel around the world and just have fun. But a few weeks after the election, it became so clear to me that our country was heading downhill very quickly, and I wouldn't be able to enjoy myself on the golf course anyway. So we formed American Cornerstone, looking at those 4 principles. Faith, which is so vitally important. Liberty, community, and life. But we also have the pediatric component called the Little Patriots program.
Aw.
And we need to make sure that we give our children our real history.
Amen.
And we have hired beautiful animators. We have a new component of the program called Star Spangled Adventures.
Nice.
And this beautiful animated series. The first one is about Christopher Columbus, but they will we release one every month. Yes. And it has a curriculum that goes with it, quizzes that go with it. Kids absolutely love it. They're signing up by the thousands. We had over 20,000 signups just last week. And we have books that go with it. No comments from the peanut gallery, please. But we have books that go with it. The latest one of which just came out, which is called Red, White, and Blue. Our flag matters to me and you.
Nice.
And it teaches our children
Love it.
why they should be proud of our flag. It doesn't denigrate anybody who wants to kneel or act like a fool, but it talks about the real reasons that we should be proud to be Americans. And all the proceeds from that book go right back into the program, along with the donations from donors, so that this program is absolutely free of charge. No one has to pay a penny for it. It's available to everybody in America. LittlePatriotsLearning.com. Because we have to be proactive. We have to take control again. And what does that require on our behalves? Courage. It requires people who are willing to stand up for what they believe in, because what have we seen for a very long time? People who think the right way, who love our country, but who don't stand up.
Right.
They just stand in the corner with their head down and hope no one calls them a nasty name. You can't do that, because you can only be the land of the free if you're the home of the brave.
That's right. That's right.
And with that, Candy's going to come up, and Tina's going to come up, and we're going to do a little Q&A, I think.
Yes, we are.